The One Love Tribute to the 60s, Smugglers Reunion. All the smugglers from yesteryear are invited.
Hi, everybody. I'm Todd Dankin. Welcome back to another edition of Becoming the King of Pot. With me, as always, is the King of Pot, Bruce Perlowin, my handsome cousin. Bruce, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Todd. I'm looking forward to today's episode to tell some early stories in my smuggling career.
Yes, we have a special guest that you will introduce in just a moment. But before that, folks, if you're watching us for the first time or the 100th time, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us here at Becoming the King of Pot, and we really appreciate that. So, Bruce, why don't you tell the folks who's with us today?
Okay, well, today we have Frank Van Rankin, who's the owner of a company called NorCal Wood Products. And I want to tell the story about how I met Frank and how in the very, very beginning of my smuggling career. So going back, I talked a little bit about this in episode 0 and a little in episode 1 when I was smuggling and selling pot in Florida, Miami. And I was shipping in 3 suitcases 100 pounds of pot out to California. And I used different friends, a lot of women, a lot of guys, to fly that pot. Back then, it was easy. You take 3 suitcases, put 100 pounds in, you fly it commercially. There was nobody checking, no dogs, no nothing. It was not a risky thing. I did the first one to make sure it was safe, and then I just hired people to go and do it. So I'm selling pot on the west coast of California in preparation to bring in my smuggling operation out to California. I didn't know that at the time. I just knew that you're getting 100 pounds more a pound out in California. So one of the things is I meet Frank. I wanted to start doing redwood burl furniture. And so I met Frank as he was one of the people that sold redwood burl. He's a lumber guy. And there was 3
And what is redwood burl, just for those of us who don't know what redwood burl is?
Redwood burl, there's a growth on the side of a tree, and it looks like big bumps and stuff like this, like a wart, giant wart, because it's redwood, so it's gigantic. And people would cut those, or they would they cut the lumber down. They didn't use that because they wanted straight lumber without curls in it and bends in it. But if you cut those and make slabs out of it, the wood is gorgeous. There's lace burl, there's um, there's other burls, different kinds. Frank will tell us that. Anyways, we used to make people made clocks and dining room tables out of them, bar tops out of them, just gorgeous end tables, display cases, just gorgeous stuff. So I wanted to get into that business. So I meet Frank. All right, there was 3 people I bought from. Frank from NorCal Wood Products, Buck, who was further north than Frank, and the Burl brothers were up in Eureka, in Oric, actually, which is north of Eureka. And that was, I used them as offloaders, as a backup to do a beach landing. And I explained all that in earlier episodes. But with Frank, when I first got out there and I was doing this, I traded Frank 7 pounds of pot for a truckload of redwood burl slabs and burls and stuff, and 3 pounds for the truck. All right. So we had 7 pounds, 10 pounds of pot he got, and I got a truck full of redwood burl. I then paid David Marquez to drive it across country, broke down halfway, and his dog died on the way.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. In fact, this is a drawing that David did of the truck. It's hard to see that, all right? But it's the truck. That's the burl on the back of it. That's the dog that died a grave. And what did he call it? He called it.
And he was a 7-year-old when he drew that, right?
So sweet sassafras. So he named the truck Sassafras. She was she has a Purple Heart and likes gas. So I guess it was a gas smuggler. Anyway, so I now have this truckload of wood. We bring it to Gainesville, Florida, and start the Magic Woodsman. All right. So with that, Oh, well, but before that, just real quick, there's the picture of the Magic Woodsman, the Spring Arts Festival. That was some of that wood I got from Frank. In fact, all that wood I got from Frank. Maybe some from the Burrell Brothers, maybe some from Buck. And this is the other Spring Arts Festival, another picture of that. And lastly, one picture of the inside of the Magic Woodsman. That was a gorgeous store. You can see all the Burrell tables and the clocks on the wall. So one of the interesting things about Frank, well, before I go about the interesting thing about Frank and the marijuana grow that I financed, that he
Wait,
grew.
let's talk about let's talk about meeting Frank first. So Frank, you meet Bruce for the first time. He trades you 10 pounds of pot for a bunch of wood and a truck. And what are you thinking? You scored, right? 10 pounds of weed. What are you doing with 10
Actually
pounds of weed? First of all.
actually actually, excuse me, I thought he beat me up pretty good.
Oh yeah, I think he did too. Yeah.
He made a very good deal, and I was,
Yeah.
desperate to have some product to take to my people, so,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
he won.
Yeah. Was that a thing that you were doing in Northern California while you were making wood? Is selling weed?
No, I was mostly selling weed in Las Vegas, which was where I'm from.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah,
That's where I live,
yeah,
in Las Vegas. Yeah.
yeah, it was and it was, of course, good money there. The people were paying decent dollars for cannabis then.
Yeah, it was dangerous back in the 70s and 80s in Vegas. They frowned upon weed in Vegas, didn't they?
Well, let me put it this way, a roach in your ashtray would get you 5 years in prison,
Yeah, that's what I thought. Right.
period.
So you were taking a giant risk, but what do you
Well, I
care?
really
You're an
really
outlaw,
wasn't I
right?
really wasn't taking a giant risk because my mother was affiliated.
With who?
Well, at that point in time, the sheriff's department and the police force of Las Vegas itself was affiliated. We're talking, 60s, 70s,
Sure, sure,
and
sure.
and we're talking they were everybody knew everybody in Vegas. There's 45,000, 50,000 people there,
Yeah.
um and so I actually got pulled over a couple times and got taken home to my mother's house.
Oh, nice. Well, that's
Yeah,
always nice
it
when
was
you're part of
nice.
the
It's instead of
right.
doing 5 years in the
Yeah.
penitentiary, getting taken home to my mother's house.
Right, right. That's funny. All right, so you meet Bruce, you meet this guy who swindles you into giving you a truckload of wood for a bunch of weed. And what are you thinking of Bruce? Who is this guy you just met?
Well, actually, Bruce was a very cool operator, and I knew he was into bigger things than what I was, and I just always thought there would be a day or whatever, down the road. You look for connections at work, and he was definitely a connection that worked.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I liked him. He's actually a nice guy sometimes.
Yeah, I haven't seen that side of him. You think he's a nice guy? Yeah?
I do. I really he's
No,
very
no, I do
pleasant.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just thought, yeah, it's an opportunity to work with this guy, and as we'll see the real story of me and Bruce is, yet to come to fruition here, but,
Yeah, well, let's
um,
get to it.
well,
Well, let
So,
me interject. So
yeah.
Frank he's raising 2 kids and, he's not rolling in dough. And, yeah, as a drug dealer, I'm rolling in dough, all right, since, I was a teenager. We were making a lot of money. And smuggling that, you're making gazillions of dollars of money. Anyway, so he comes up with this scheme to do a marijuana grow. Now, I'm not into growing, right? Because I'm smuggling. You can't grow 30,000 pounds, but you can smuggle 30,000 pounds.
yeah.
But, Frank, I like Frank. I think what he's doing is cool as hell with all this great, beautiful, gorgeous wood. And so he comes up with a scheme to grow some marijuana. So I'm going to turn that back over to Frank to tell the story of Sparkle and how we got involved with me financing a grow.
Okay.
Right. So, and how far is this into your relationship where you're doing, all this business, buying wood?
Well,
Pretty
I had known, Bruce for a couple of years, mostly with lumber. 'cause he was
Mhm.
very into, beautiful pieces of wood. A couple, 2 or 3 years at the most, but here's what happened. So, when I first started my lumber career, I was a guy who went out into woods and just got burro, which is this precious wood that everybody is thinking about. By the way, which that's when I started my surfboard project with some surfboard makers that I've been doing for 40 years, and we've made this amazing collection of surfboards that we're about to
Oh,
sell
wow.
for, we're hoping 75 or $80 million.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so
That
that's how
that that's how beautiful this redwood burl
that's
and lace burl and
exactly. That's how precious this wood. I mean, it's like jewelry. And so Bruce was into it, and people who are attracted to wood are very easy for me to befriend because I love it, and, so Bruce was definitely that way, and, um, so anyway, but the real deal and the real story was we did some business, and it was small business here, there, whatever, and then I, uh, received my 2 young sons from my divorced wife, and, um, I was making good money, and I felt comfortable doing that. She wasn't able to care for him proper, and so I brought these kids down and into I lived in Laytonville at that time, and, um, I was single, and I had my 2 kids at home, and I was out at the bar drinking, and I got into a barroom brawl, and I got into a fight with 3 Indians.
So you're in a barroom brawl with a couple of Indians? What happened there?
Well, I ended up knocking one of them out, but they ended up taking my knee out too, so I ended up in the hospital, knee operation. The doctor that I met ended up being lifelong friends also, but he told me, he says, you're gonna have a cast on your leg for a year." And I go, "Whoa." And so I'm trying to figure out what am I gonna do with these 2 kids that I have that I love with all my heart, and how am I gonna feed them because I can't do work at all. So that's when knowing Bruce went bing. I go and so I really didn't know anything about growing at the time, but I talked to a friend of mine who had a piece of property that he would rent me, and he's and I go, "But I don't know how to grow." He says, "Well, you just add water." And I go, "Okay." So I went to Bruce. I asked him if he would lend me $20,000 to pay for the rent and to do the grow. And, I mean, like that, he said he would do it, right?
Nice.
And so,
And Bruce,
um
what made your decision so easy?
well, I was into that was my industry. Like, when I was smuggling out in California, a couple of my big distributors were growers, and so we all sort of did, you sometimes you do an offload, you bring your own loads in, you sell other people's loads, and you grow. So I trusted Frank. I've been working with the woods. I said, "Sure, I'll put the money up." I had the extra money. Let's, see if we can make some money growing pot. It was just a little extra. It's not big loads, but it's certainly not little money, you know?
Yeah. And did you get some of the equity from the grow, or was it just a loan and you were just expected to, for a payback?
no, it
No,
was
I
gonna be 50-50.
yeah.
Oh, nice. Got
He
it.
was gonna loan me the money, and it was gonna be 50-50. And so I go out to the we do the deal, I pay the guy, I go out into the woods, I'm digging holes with my 6 and 8-year-old son and with a cast on my leg, and we do this whole freaking thing on a mountainside, and we're growing some of the best Mendocino weed there is, that's like Bruce is selling, you know, uh, Thai weed and Mexican weed,
Yeah.
we're talking about connoisseur weed, and so everything was fine, and all of a sudden, in the middle of I mean, after when the grow it's a long process, by the way, and it was a tough
Yeah.
year, and we
Yeah.
had a little battery-operated TV that we watched, um, kung fu on for, like, once a week. I got these cucumber beetles, and they're they look ladybugs, but they're devouring the flower off the top of my buds. And so, me being a Nevada boy, afraid to talk, openly about growing pot, I went down to the local nursery, and I said, "Hey, on my tomato plants, I got these cucumber beetles, and they're devouring them." They go, Here, take this and put it all over it," and it was sulfur. And so I went and sulfured my whole crop and finished the grow, and then me and Bruce got together at the end, and I had dried some and trimmed some, and I hadn't trimmed any of it really, but about a half a pound or whatever. Bruce is there, and we're firing this doobie up for the first time, and it tastes like sulfur, and it goes
Whoa.
it's like this little fire comes off the sulfur burning, right? And and Bruce fucking shoves the shit over to me and said, "You owe me fucking $20,000. Take this shit and stuff it up your ass," or something really close to that, you know? And I'm like, "Oh, fuck, great." And I'm like, Bruce is like this guy that I'm like, "Fuck, dude, he might fucking kill me. I don't know, whatever."
Right, right, right.
And
He's a gangster, right?
yeah,
He's a
so
gangster.
so he fucking leaves, and oh, and by the way, then I took a pound and I put it in a pillowcase, and I put it in the washer with no soap, and then I put it in a dr and I took it out and tried to f and it still did the same thing, dude, like that. So I go, "Fuck it." I go, "Wait, now we're talking about Las Vegas, and Las Vegas, and if you got something that'll get you high, you can sell it," you know what I mean? So, I fucking go to Vegas, and pull over at, like, a place close to state line, and I call all my buddies, like, and I got my 2 kids with me, and my parents are there, so I got I got, like, 40 pounds in my truck that I've all cleaned all up, trimmed everything. And I dropped my kids off, and I got Red Rock Canyon, meet me out at Red Rock Canyon, and and, uh at the gang all goes out there, we're drinking beer, and I'm giving them this bud, and we're firing it up around in a circle. I got about 20 doobies, and I pass them around and fired them up, dude, and everybody's taking a hit, dude, and it's like but after about the second hit, dude, it's like, "Come on, we're talking about Mendocino bud. It's not like Mexican weed."
Right,
And it's like
right.
psychedelic real quick. And they're like all of a sudden, everybody's, like, ripped, and they're going, like, one of my friends goes, "Yeah, what do you call this shit?" And I go, "Fuck, sparkler." I sold it all that day. Well, I sold everything I had in the truck, right, that evening, because it was all the dealers from Vegas were out there in Red Rock Canyon with me partying, and, got my dough, took it back to Bruce, gave him his fucking half, and we've been friends ever since.
Nice, nice. So all you gotta do is pay the debts, and then you're friends for life, right?
Exactly. And actually,
So
we've had some cool, just business deals along the way, other than cannabis, more in my trade with lumber and demolishing buildings and using stuff for his operations.
yeah, didn't you, help build a lot of the stuff over at the Ukiah house?
I did. I supplied most of the really beautiful stuff over there. Some of the, commodity stuff I didn't, but that's an amazing place. I've always loved that
I was just
place.
gonna say, what do you think of the whole Ukiah property? And,
One
you
of the
know
most beautiful places I've ever been in my life.
I want to interject something about the Ukiah House. And Frank now runs NorCal Wood Products. And if you want, like I bought for the Ukiah House, a 40-foot beam, red solid beam, probably 2 foot by 2 foot. And that was the top beam that we put across the third floor. And how we had to get that beam up there is we got a giant crane, took out the window, slid the beam with the crane into the window, had 20 guys in there to help maneuver it, took the crane around the back of the house, cut a hole in the roof, dropped the rope down from the crane, put it around the beam, and then lifted it up, and then 20 guys held it while we put the 2 braces beams up to hold it up. So that was just one piece. I mean, he supplied all the ebony, the mahogany, and then as a front for why I was so rich out there, I said I was in lumber. And so he gave me a whole truckload of redwood burl and redwood slabs that I had out there just as a show. This is what I'm into. And so he really did supply all the doors. The doors are solid wood. He arranged to have those made by whoever he worked with in the wood business. And so that was one whole world I did with Frank. And then, by the way, just so you know, here's a commercial. Frank and I and Craig are launching the Magic Woodsman again. What is this, 50 years later? So
Wow, that's exciting.
yeah, he's already brought down a truckload. What have you brought down, and what tell him about that plan for a
Well,
commercial?
I brought down 1 truckload, but I'm bringing down another one, and then of burros, different types of burros: redwood, black walnut, grafted black walnut, English walnut, cherry wood, all kinds of exotic woods that come from Northern California that I have turned into slabs I mean, we're gonna make slabs, tables, breadboards. I'm gonna try to get an addition of, like, cooking boards out before Thanksgiving, of grafted black walnut and English walnut. They're beautiful pieces of wood and, to cut your food on and whatever.
Nice.
Hopefully get that done, but we're gonna open up a little thing. I'm gonna hire a couple people out in Dolan Springs where Bruce has his dome house and his house, and put a little thing together and try to, create a new business, more of like a retirement thing because I'm actually walking out of North Cal and leaving it to my son now.
And I
Nice.
wanna I
Oh,
wanna say every bit of lumber that Frank does is all reclaimed lumber. Not a living tree has ever been cut for any of the wood that he buys. It's all reclaimed wood, and that's what I like as an environmentalist, that we're not cutting down living trees.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. For sure. And that's awesome. So, Frank, over the years, especially while you're helping with the Ukiah house, you see this guy, building up wealth, building up whatever he wants, really. What's going through your mind? And then once he gets arrested and ends up in jail, I mean, do you guys lose touch? You ever go visit him in jail? Do you, what was that like?
I did not visit him in jail. Um, Not my place to go to, uh,
Right.
for happy times. But, when he got out, we picked up the pieces and worked together on many projects over the years.
Right. And even before that, before he went to jail, when is it you realized he was this, marijuana kingpin?
I knew he was that from I live at that time, I was, fairly connected with people in Mendocino County and, in Northern California, if you will, and he did a lot of his work up there, so and I was, like, in the in crowd, if you will, of certain
Yeah.
people. I knew who he was and what he was doing, but, kept my lips sealed, of course.
Yeah, of course.
What did you think
The only way to be a part of it.
what did you
Right.
Oh,
think
yeah.
when all the newspaper articles came out when I was arrested? Did you see any of that?
I did. I shit my pants. I went, "Oh my god." And then how it happened with the notebook at the fucking restaurant. Oh my god. Terrible. I was just wondering, is my name in that damn notebook?
So tell that story really quick, Bruce, of your infamous notebook. And is that really how you got busted?
No, what the FBI agent said in the documentary, CNBC documentary, which you can see at thekingofpot.com. One, you'll see the trailer to the movie, and two, you'll see the 50-minute interview. He said that how they arrested me was I left my notebook in the Denny's restaurant. And yes, I did leave my notebook in the Denny's restaurant, and they did find it, and they did turn it over to the FBI. But it was just one trip with codes of weights and initials of people, and you couldn't really tell what it was. I mean, it looked like, well, maybe they were selling pot, but how they really busted me was snitches, but the FBI is not allowed to say, "We arrested them because snitches rolled over on them. My partners rolled over, the captains one of the captains rolled over, the guys laundered my money rolled over." And when my partners rolled over, they gave them all the books, and when the guys laundering my money all over the world rolled over, they gave them all the bank accounts, not just one little notebook. But they said that.
Right.
It makes a good story, but it's not true, you know?
Yeah.
It's not what busted me. But that's what they said, and that's what Frank is referring to about him worrying, "Uh-oh, is my name in that book?"
It's the most often asked question I get when we're talking about you, Bruce, to, the family and friends and people that know that I know you and we do this, right? Is did you really get caught with that notebook? Right? That's that's the number one question I get. So that's funny. So thanks for putting that myth to bed. Um, so Frank, yeah, what was it like when he was arrested? Did you follow his sort of prison career, or did you just get the
I knew
phone
where
call
he
when he got out? Mhm.
first of all, it's not the first person I've known that's been to prison,
That's not
sorry to say.
shocking to me. Yeah, that's not shocking.
It's like, half of my clique in high school is been to prison,
Got it.
um, including myself, which I don't need to go into, but, um, no, I knew where he was, and, I mean, I'm not gonna go visit him,
Yeah, yeah,
and the thing of it is I knew he was in federal penitentiary, which is a whole lot nicer than state, uh, so I just wished him well until he got
yeah.
out.
Right. So he gets back, and how do you guys get back connected?
Through wood business. Yep. I mean, through legitimate wood business. He needed products. He was doing, he was building a facility out in Dolan Springs, and he was doing his house, trying to get back into his house again, and I was helping him do that. He was gonna take the house back and redo a bunch of stuff out there. So I was just working with him like a customer, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I was up there a few years ago when, we came over to your place. We saw your place, and back when, you were trying to take over, the Ukiah house.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun for me, just kinda reminiscing and seeing the house, and came to life after my memories from back in 1981. Um, it's that was a lot of fun for me. Anything else you guys wanna talk about in regards to your guys' relationship and how you guys have been working together over the years?
Well, I wanna just say that when we relaunched the Magic Wizard Frank, how many slabs do you actually have at this point at NorCal that you'll be bringing down?
Probably 1,000.
So, that's like 1,000 slabs, and what's the value of a
I
finished
mean,
bar top?
if we sold them to somebody that I was just in Phoenix with somebody who they offered me, in raw wood, $400 a piece.
So
But, I mean,
that's
that's like a wholesale buyer who makes things out of the slabs. He would take a truckload at $400 a piece.
and when we finish making them, they're good. There's some of them are $10,000 dining room tables.
2 to 10,000.
Yeah. So we'll be
I had one in
launching
my house growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We had a
we'll
co
be doing
we had a coffee table, we had a dining room table, and we had 2 clocks.
there we go.
So relaunching the Magic Wizard is a lot of fun for both of
It's
us
gonna be fun.
because, it's 50 years later, 52 years later.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. It'll be a lot of fun, and, yeah, let's sell some of those in Vegas. Dolan Springs right down the
That's what we
street.
plan on doing.
yeah.
Nice. 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 All right. Well, if that's what we got, Frank, thanks a lot for joining us. We're going to look for the new Magic Woodsman, or should we say the Magic Woodsman 2.0, right? Coming to a neighborhood to you, certainly if you're here in the Vegas area. Bruce, always a pleasure. Lots of fun telling stories. And if you have anything else to add there, Bruce?
Yeah, another part of what we're gonna do at the Magic Woodsman is we've just about a week ago decided
Meanwhile, back at the Magic Woodsman, right? Go ahead.
so
Another shameless plug by Bruce Perlowin.
yeah, commercial. But we're also going to have in 1 year from now, on June 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th, a 4-day festival, a Smugglers Reunion, all right, sponsored by the Becoming the King of Pot podcast. And we're going to have all the podcasters there, not just us. And it's a One Love Festival. It's called, it's a long name. We'll probably shorten it. The One Love Tribute to the 60s Smugglers Reunion. All the smugglers from yesteryear are invited. All the people that won all the podcast extravaganza, music and arts festival. We had one there 5 years ago, the One Love Festival. 4,000 people showed up. And this is on a property, 68 acres that I own, 12 miles from the Dolan Springs house. We're going to have a giant Magic Woodsman launch there, or grand opening, with all these beautiful clocks and tables. And again, all the smugglers of yesterday are invited. And of course, we'll be there as the
And of course, you're invited too.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty fun because it's tough. It took us, 4 months to get Frank on?
Yeah. Sorry.
4 months to get Alan, the lawyer, on.
Yeah.
So here we're going to have all the smugglers all at one place. We'll get a year's worth of content, and so will all the other podcasters. And that's where you're going to see these gorgeous clocks and tables on display, because there's going to be, a lot of vendor booths there as well. So look for that, and that's a plug for our future event.
Awesome. Well, Frank, thanks a lot for joining us from NorCal. Bruce, as always, lots of fun. I'm Todd Dankin. This is Becoming the King of Pot, and we will see you next time.